All right, are you ready to start getting into the good stuff? Let's talk about airplane components. In this lesson, we'll cover the 5 main airplane components. We'll discuss their different variations, and I'll give you a quick intro to the flight controls. An airplane is built up of 5 major components. The fuselage is the cabin where you have the flight controls, seats, and baggage. It acts as a center where all other major components connect to. The wings are airfoils attached to each side of the fuselage that produce lift as air flows around them. The power plant is where power is generated to produce thrust. Landing gear holds the tires and absorbs the shock from landing. Its main purpose is to support the airplane when it's on the ground. And lastly, the empennage is the proper name for the tail section of the aircraft. It's made up of the horizontal and vertical stabilizer. There are different types of structures used when building the fuselage. In the early ages of aviation, aircraft fuselage construction was built with wooden truss structures, but later changed to a monocoque and semi-monocoque structure you'll see today. Originally, this was done with cloth fabric and evolved to lightweight metals like aluminum. In some cases, the outside skin can support all or major portions of the flight loads. Monocoque structures used stress skin to support almost all aerodynamic loads. The word monocoque is derived from a French word meaning single shell. Although very strong, monocoque construction is not highly tolerant to deformation of the surface. Think about an aluminum soda can. You can exert large forces at the end of the can without damage. However, once you dent the side of the can, it will collapse easily. As aircrafts got larger with increasing loads, a semi-monocoque structure was introduced. Semi-monocoque structure uses a substructure to which airplane skin is attached. This substructure, which consists of bulkheads, formers, and stringers, reinforce the skin by supporting some of the bending stresses from the fuselage. One emerging process of construction is the integration of composites and aircrafts made entirely of composites. Composite construction offers 2 advantages. 1, extremely smooth skin, and 2, the ability to easily form complex or streamlined structures. A lot of aircrafts today are incorporating composite materials into their aircraft designs. There are many different variations when it comes to wings. You can have a high wing plane where the wings are above the fuselage, a mid-wing plane where the wings are at the middle of it, or a low wing plane, of course, where the wings are below the fuselage. There's also a difference between how many wings there are. There's monoplanes, which have 1 set of wings, and biplanes, which will have 2 sets of wings. The structure of the wing is composed of ribs, stringers, and spars, which of course is then covered by the skin. The front of the wing we call the leading edge, and of course the trailing edge is the back of the wing. The part furthest away from the fuselage is the wingtip, and then the end that's connected to the fuselage we refer to as the wing root. In most modern airplanes, the fuel tanks are either an integral part of the wing structure or consist of flexible containers mounted inside the wing. On the trailing edge of each wing, you'll have 2 control surfaces called ailerons and flaps. The aileron extends from the midpoint out towards the wingtip, and they move in the opposite direction, creating different aerodynamic forces that cause the airplane to roll. Flaps extend outward from the fuselage up to about the midpoint of each wing. When extended, flaps move simultaneously downwards to increase the lifting force of the wings for takeoff and landing. The power plant includes the engine, which is what provides the power to the propeller in order to make it spin. Second is the propeller, which creates the thrust to move the plane forward. And third, the cowling, which is a casing around the engine and its components. And lastly, the firewall, which is located between the engine compartment and the cabin. This serves as a barrier between the occupants and the engine compartment and is used to mount flight and engine instruments. The most common type of landing gear are wheels, but of course there is going to be things like floats to help you land on water and skis which you'll use to land on snow. Planes with 3 wheels will have one of 2 configurations. One is the tricycle gear. They'll have 2 main wheels with a nose wheel up towards the front, underneath, or around where the power plant is. Or there's the conventional gear where you'll have the 2 main wheels and there'll be a tail wheel towards the back around the empennage area. The empennage is made up of both fixed surfaces, which means the surfaces don't move, and movable surfaces. The fixed surfaces consist of the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical stabilizer. The first movable surface is the rudder, which is attached to the back of the vertical stabilizer. It helps move the nose left and right. Then there's the elevator, which is attached to the back of the horizontal stabilizer, and that helps move the nose up and down. And then there's the trim tabs, which are small movable parts that help reduce the control pressures from the pilot. And it's homework time again. Make sure you read the lesson notes, just as you would with every lecture or lesson we do. Check out and review any of the lesson handouts, which are going to be below all of the information in this lecture. And of course, make sure you move on and complete the lesson quiz. It's going to start getting a little bit more in depth from here on out. So make sure before you move on to each lesson, you fully understand and study any terms or information that we go over in this lecture. And once again, if you do have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments for this lesson, and I will be sure to answer all questions as well as see if anybody has asked those same questions you're thinking as well.